The era where your school district treated your personal computer like a federal prison cell is officially coming to an end. The companies that built their entire business model on spying on literal children are finally facing a reckoning they can't escape. And honestly, it's been a long time coming. For years, the whole conversation has been dominated by the surveillance state. We've ranted about GoGuardian, Lightspeed, Bark, and the dozens of other mandated spyware programs schools force you to install under the banner of online safety. These apps log your keystrokes, watch your webcam, and track your location even when you're home on a Saturday night. Think about that for a second. Not during class, not on school property. Saturday night in your own room on a device that supposedly exists so you can do homework. We've seen students get flagged for suspicious activity just for running a search for a history project. That's even happened to me. You type in something about a war, or a historical figure, or some medical term for a biology assignment, and suddenly an algorithm decides you're a threat, and a notification lands on some administrator's desk. And we've seen these companies sell that data to third-party brokers who build a permanent digital profile on you before you're even old enough to vote. A profile you never consented to, that follows you into adulthood, that you'll never be able to delete. It's been a dark, frustrating era of the internet, where the safety label was used to strip away every ounce of digital autonomy. Every single time someone pushed back, the answer was the same. But what about safety? What about the children? And that phrase became a skeleton key that unlocked every door, justified every camera, excused every overreach. But today, the news is actually good. For the first time in a decade, the legal tide has turned. Schools are getting sued. Privacy laws are being rewritten. And the mandated malware industry is absolutely panicking right now. Today, we're breaking down the massive reasons school spyware is finally losing. We're looking at the landmark legal cases banning this software, the mass rebellions breaking the algorithms and making administrations think twice, and why the light at the end of the tunnel for digital privacy is finally starting to become visible. Stick around, because this one actually has a happy ending for once. Let's start with the legal reckoning. For the last 10 years, school districts have operated in a total wild west of privacy. They basically told students that if you wanted to use their network, or wanted a computer, or even wanted to bring your own personal laptop, you had to surrender every single right to privacy you possessed. No negotiation, no opt-out. Take the surveillance, or get left behind academically. And for a long time, the courts let them do it under the doctrine of in loco parentis, Latin, right on the nose, which essentially means the school acts as your parent while you're there. The problem is, schools stretched that word there until it covered your entire life, everywhere, at all hours. But in 2026, the game changed. We're seeing a massive surge in privacy litigation targeting the kernel-level access these apps demand. And that word, kernel level, matters. It means the software doesn't just watch what you do in a browser tab, it burrows into the deepest layer of your device, the part that controls everything, with permissions most corporate IT departments would never allow on their own machines. Parents and civil rights groups are finally arguing that a school district has no legal authority to monitor a student's private home life, or honestly anything, just because they hand you a school email or a school computer, or because you sat down at a computer on campus. There are landmark cases happening right now where courts are ruling that 24/7 surveillance is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They're finally realizing a simple thing. If a school wouldn't be allowed to put a physical camera in your bedroom, it shouldn't be allowed to put a digital one there through your school computer. It's the same intrusion. The lens is just made of code instead of glass, and for years, that distinction let institutions do digitally what they'd be arrested for doing physically. New laws are hitting the books right now, like the 2026 Student Data Sovereignty Act, which explicitly bans schools from tracking devices outside of school hours. This is the silver bullet killing companies like GoGuardian and Lightspeed and the rest of those tools. Their whole business runs on constant data harvesting. If they can't track you 24/7, their data becomes less valuable to the advertisers and brokers they sell it to. They lose their product, and the product is you. That was always the dirty secret. The safety pitch was the front door. The data pipeline was the whole house. And the most satisfying part of all of this, districts are actually starting to get fined millions of dollars. The moment a school board realizes that keeping their spyware installed could cost them their entire annual budget in a class action lawsuit, plus legal fees, they instantly stop caring about safety and start deleting the software overnight to save their own skin. Funny how fast the principles evaporate when the money's on the line. They're finally figuring out that the liability of spying is higher than the benefit of control. And once one district gets burned, the rest start watching very, very nervously. But the laws are only half the story. The real reason the spyware is failing is the students. There's a massive, decentralized movement of reckoning happening in middle schools and high schools all across the country, and probably in other countries too. Students are turning themselves into amateur cybersecurity experts just to reclaim their privacy. And this is the part that terrifies these companies, because you can lobby a school board, but you can't lobby a 15-year-old who just figured out how to sandbox your software. Kids are running virtual machines to isolate the spyware. I've done that with my friends before, sandboxing it to shut down the tracking, finding mass opt-out experts who render the tracking software completely useless. And yeah, students play bypass games too, but that's not the point here. We've seen the rise of anti-filtering communities online where students share open source code that neutralizes these tracking extensions in seconds, not weeks, not after some big organized campaign. Seconds. Somebody posts a fix, and by the end of the day, half the school is running it. That's created a huge problem for the spyware companies. Their entire selling point is total visibility. But when a chunk of the student body finds a way around the filter, the safety data the school receives turns into pure noise and total uselessness. Their AI can't tell who's actually at risk because the baseline data is corrupted by thousands of students running workarounds. The threat detection algorithms are literally having a meltdown because they can't tell the difference between a real problem and a student just trying to protect their privacy or launch a game. Games aren't that deep. But the system treats everything with equal suspicion, and when everything is a threat, nothing is. The whole model collapses under its own paranoia. Schools are finally giving up because they can't keep pace with the internet. It's dawning on them that they're in an arms race against a generation that grew up online and gets more tech literate every year, and the schools are losing. Every time a school patches one bypass, 3 new ones show up on social media an hour later. They're spending more on IT support and unblocking devices than they are on actual education. Let that sink in. The surveillance is now literally eating the budget that's supposed to teach kids. We've hit the breaking point where the administrative cost of spying on students is higher than the imagined benefit. The security theater is finally closing its doors because the actors stopped following the script and started rewriting it themselves. That's a stop-the-scroll moment right there. So, where does this leave us? Is the fight over? Not yet. But for the first time, the privacy trend is actually pointing upward. We're seeing a human comeback. People finally waking up to the fact that safety has almost always been used as a Trojan horse for control. We saw the same thing happen with the whole AI slop era. People got tired of the fake, the automated, the monitored, the not real, and they started craving something real. AKA humanity. It's all connected. The same instinct that makes you scroll past a soulless AI-generated video is the instinct that makes you resent a camera watching you do your homework. The massive success of content that calls this rot by its name is just proof that the social consent for surveillance has been withdrawn. When 500,000, when millions of people watch content about banning school spyware, it sends a shockwave through the whole industry and through the schools too. I know for a fact my principal watched one of those videos. These conversations don't stay online anymore. They walk right into the building. It makes the investors in these companies nervous because they can see the next generation isn't just going to accept being tracked like dogs. We're moving toward a decentralized classroom of sorts. We're seeing a return to private, invite-only digital spaces where teachers and students can actually interact without a corporate algorithm logging every word for a future background check. We're seeing a push for dumb technology in schools again. Actual paper, actual pens, and laptops that don't phone home to a server in Silicon Valley every second. Turns out, the old boring tools never sold your data to anyone. The dead internet era of school surveillance is ending, and it's being replaced by something more authentic, something human. It's a good day to be online. I want to hear your own thoughts on this. Has your school changed its policy recently? Mine has. A few things moved in the right direction. If you've got something to say, drop it in the comments. And the ironic thing is, all these wins are landing right as I'm about to graduate. So yeah, feels like school always starts improving the second you're on your way out. Classic timing, but that's all I've got. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.